Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I would like to call this meeting to order and acknowledge that we are in Treaty 1 territory, the home and traditional lands of the Ojibwe, Cree, and Dakota peoples, and in the national homeland of the Red River Métis. Our drinking water comes from Shoal Lake 40 First Nation in Treaty 3 territory. My name is Carrie Linklater, and I am the chairperson this morning. I am joined via Zoom by panel members, Mr. Brian Carlin and Mr. Kent Seelan. From the assessment department is Mr. Eric Gauthier, and our administrative personnel is Mr. Zachary Mohan. To the Zoom participants of the hearing, please note you are placed in the waiting room until your property is called upon. When it is your turn, you will be admitted into the meeting. Kindly follow along on the City of Winnipeg's Board of Revision YouTube channel for the hearing process. Once the host admits you into the hearing, please close or mute your YouTube player. You will be then permitted to speak with respect to your property. Once your hearing has concluded, you may leave the meeting. We will be hearing applications for revision of the assessment roll in accordance with the Municipal Assessment Act. The matters for which revision is requested have been described in each application, and we will limit discussion to those matters. Statements that are made at this hearing are sworn testimony, and anyone speaking to the matters must be sworn in. Be advised that comparisons of assessments of properties are not considered evidence of market value by the Board of Revision. Board of Revision is appointed annually by City Council, and it is independent of it and the city administration. It makes its decisions on the basis of the evidence provided at this hearing and issues a written order that will be mailed to all parties as soon as possible. Please note that the board's decisions with respect to an application may be appealed to the Manitoba Municipal Board if the matter pertains to assessed value or classification, or to the Court of King's Bench if the matter pertains to the application of exemptions from taxation. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so will be included with the board's order. With respect to the hearing process, I will confirm the points of appeal with your property to be addressed with each applicant following the swearing in. We'll then have the assessor's testimony followed by questions that the applicant may have, and then the applicant's testimony followed by questions. Each side will have an opportunity to summarize if they wish. Once all of the evidence about an application has been brought forward, the applicant may leave. The process will repeat for each item on the docket today. The session will close after all the applications have been heard, and the board will deliberate in private and make its decisions. You will receive the board's decision by registered mail as soon as possible. As information, all public hearings are live streamed, recorded, and will be part of the public record. This morning, we will be hearing items 1 through 4 on our docket. Mr. Mohan, would you please affirm the assessor and the applicant's testimony?
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Assessor, please state your full name.
Eric Gauthier.
Do you affirm that the evidence you're about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. You may be seated. Mr. Applicant, please state your full name.
Carson Horsburgh.
Do you affirm that the evidence you're about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Horsburgh, and good morning, Mr. Gauthier. We are going to be starting off with our first item, which is Unit 1, 419 Arnold Avenue. And Mr. Gauthier, whenever you're ready.
The subject property is roll number 1201-3335-100, commonly referred to as 419 Arnold Avenue. It's located in the neighborhood of Lord Roberts. The two-story triplex built in 1961. We have the dwelling in fairly original condition. The living area is 2,240 square feet above grade. We have the basement is full and finished. There's a suite down there. We have 2 full baths and 1 half bath and an extra shower. We have central air conditioning present, no fireplaces, no attached garages. Note there is a detached multiple garage. I added a field here for total rentable bedrooms. We have 6 total rentable bedrooms. No sunrooms. The land, the plot of land that the dwelling is located on is 4,388 square feet. Our assessed value for 2025 is pegged at 497,000. Today I'm presenting 4 comparable sales. They're all located very close by in the neighborhood of Lord Roberts. I wasn't able to find triplexes, but very comparable duplexes. Some of them were even similar models or next door. So they're all 2-story purpose-built duplexes, built in the 60s and late 50s, all in fairly original condition according to our records. We have the living area varies between at the low end 2,068 square feet and at the high end 2,240 square feet. All have full basements, all have basement finish except comp number 4 or comparable number 4 does not have basement finish. All have between 2 and 3 full baths. Comparable 1 has a half bath and an extra shower. All have central AC other than comparable number 4 does not. No fireplaces, no attached garages. Comparables 1 and 2 have a multiple detached garage, while comparables 3 and 4 do not. Total rentable bedrooms varies between 4 and 7. There are no sunrooms present, any of the comparables. The land is fairly consistent. The low end, I have 3,757 square feet for comparable 1. And at the high end, comparable 4 is just shy of 5,000 square feet of land. As far as influences, fairly clean. Comparable 3 on Kyle Moore. It's close to the community club and the rec center building. The comparables sold in 2021 and 2022. Sale prices range between 465 at the low end and 512 at the high end. That translates to a all-encompassing price per square foot range of the low end 200 and all round here, so 208 at the low end and 248 at the high end per square foot. The time adjusted sales prices. So once we bring our sales to our April 1st, 2023 reference date, the time adjusted sale prices range between 490 at the low end and 516 at the high end. That translates to a time adjusted sale price per square foot range between 219 at the low end and 250 at the high end. My recommendation is to maintain the current assessed value of 497,000 as supported by the comparable sales. I do note that the property sold in 2019 for 460,000. Are there any questions at all?
Mr. Horsberg, any questions?
Thank you. Just one question for the assessor, more just a clarification. Were you able to find any triplex sales?
No, typically these were purpose-built duplexes. So the odd one, someone buys it, adds an egress window in the basement and adds an extra suite, which is what I believe is the case with 419 Arnold. So they're not extremely common. Yeah, they would be similar. I mean, the ones with the finished basements, like for example, comp number 2, I believe is the same model. And I believe it's next door if you look at my map. So these would have been basically the exact same house. It has basement finish. So the only difference there would be that you wouldn't have like the kitchenette in the basement. And obviously maybe some other fire code stuff. But yeah, so it's very similar. It's basically the exact same.
Okay, thank you. No further questions.
Thank you. Mr. Carlin, any questions?
No questions, thank you.
Thank you, and Mr. Seelan.
Have you inspected this property?
I have not, no.
So we really don't know the condition of this property, do we?
Well, when it sold in 2019, if I remember correctly, I did look at the MLS listing. and the description of it and went over the permits and stuff, so. I have a pretty good idea what it looks like, what condition it's in. Like I said, we have it as. If you look at our effective age, we have it as 1961, so we're kind of assuming it's fairly original condition. So there would be nothing extravagant there or anything as far as I kind of assumed it's in sort of average shape and found comparables that are according to our records in average condition as well.
Now, you've added a column, actually a row of total rentable bedrooms. Is there a reason that you entered that specifically here?
Yeah, because if you're out in the market for a duplex or a triplex, one of the things that you're going to consider is the rents are different for a 1-bedroom than a 3-bedroom, right? So this can impact the value. So I want it to be transparent because, you know, if you've got one with 4 bedrooms and one with 6, maybe the rents are a little bit higher and maybe the value could be different there. So I just want to be transparent about that. That's typically we have an in-ground pool as our field there, so I had to kind of hijack it, and obviously the pools are irrelevant here, so I felt like this was when I'm dealing with duplexes and triplexes, you'll typically see in my briefs that I disclose.
Thank you. That's all my questions, Madam Chair.
Thank you. So you yourself, Mr. Goche, did not inspect this property?
Correct.
Do you have notes as to when it was last inspected?
Last inspected. No, but I do have that it was converted to a triplex in 2017. So the basement suite would have been added then. Just trying to see if anyone actually went on site. Let's see where it is. And it was a short-term care facility at some point, but inspection with owner, yes, 2017. So when they pulled a change of use permit for to take care of residents, I guess. And in 2017, at the same time, they added suite. We did inspect it, one of my colleagues, 2017. But it was basically, I can't say for sure if the whole building was inspected, but definitely the basement. The basement suite,
Okay,
which was the permit being dealt with at the time.
right. And you said that you had read the MLS listing when it was listed for sale.
Sorry, I was just reading my notes, so there was no MLS listing found. So there was a June 2019 sale, no listing found.
So it's sold privately?
Sold privately, yeah.
All right, thank you. Are you aware of any issues? Is it fully rented?
I'm not aware of yeah, that would be a better question maybe for the applicant, but
Yeah.
I'm not valuing it as if it's vacant or if there's issues, but. So I haven't been told if there's any problem with the property, so I'm assuming it's in average condition being rented. It's a fairly desirable area, vacancy rates are very low, so.
Yes. Garage, it's multi. How many, do you know how many spaces there are?
I can tell you how many square feet, I have that, for the garage. 400 square feet, so kind of a 20 by 20, so that's your typical double garage.
Right. All right, just curious, you've got the 6 bedrooms, so I'm assuming this is 3 suites?
Yeah, I believe, and Carson may know, I'm just trying to think off the top of my head, I have a feeling it's I'm trying to remember the suite layouts, if it's 2-2-2 or if it's 3-3. No, so if it's 3-2-1.
We can ask the applicant.
Yeah,
That's fine.
I forget how it's the basement. Maybe even the notes on the basement permit will tell me. Yeah, you know what, I'm not sure what that breakdown is.
Yes, thank you. Mr. Horsberg, if you would like to give us your brief.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If the board will follow me along, starting on page 1 of the brief. Again, we're dealing with 419 Arnold Avenue with an assessed value of $497,000. Now, if the board will follow me through to page 3, I've seen some of this information before. Again, we're discussing a 2,240 square foot residential triplex built in 1961. On page 4, we have the assessment breakdown. Again, we've already seen this information, just showing properties 2-story, finished basement, air conditioning, lot size, etc. Now, if the board will follow me to page 5, M&P opted to value this property via the income approach. As we saw in the assessor's brief, there aren't any real good comparable triplex sales in the immediate area, as well as triplexes are typically purchased by investors. So that's why we've applied the income approach here in order to value the subject property. So I'll speak to that a little bit in a little bit more detail later on. But now if the board will follow me through to page 6, again, we have the assessment map and aerial photograph of the subject property. And on page 7, we have a front photograph and an exterior photograph. Now on page 8, I've included just a brief breakdown of the 3 approaches to a real estate appraisal. So the sales comparison approach is typically used for single family homes, where you have quite a few robust sales in the market. The subject property, challenging to value it via the sales comparison approach. When we're looking at duplexes and single family homes, we're not seeing much market activity for triplexes. So I did look at the sales comparison approach, and I'll speak to that on the next page. I also looked at the cost approach. The cost approach, based on what it would cost to rebuild a property, no one in the market is looking at the cost approach in terms of valuing a triplex. The cost approach is best suited for properties that are very unique, highly specialized, like your hydro dams, stuff like that, not your triplexes. So ultimately, M&P valued the property using the income approach. Makes the most sense for the subject property. Investors are going to be looking at this property and purchasing it based on the income it can generate, not based on what duplexes are selling for in the neighborhood. They're purchasing it for the future cash flows. And that's why we've applied the income approach. So if we move on to page 9 of my disclosure, I was able to find some sales of triplexes and fourplexes. One of them was in the subject neighborhood of Lord Roberts. The other 3 properties were in nearby neighborhoods, Osborne Village, McMillan, and the Cordon area. So I was able to find some sales of triplexes. However, given that none of these properties were in the subject market neighborhood, I opted to go with the income approach because it does reflect market thinking. So on page 10, I'll speak to the income approach in a little more detail here. So as Madam Chair, you asked of the suite breakdown, my understanding is that the property is essentially 3 2-bedroom suites, a 2-bedroom suite on the second floor, main floor, and basement floor. So now in terms of valuing the property, given that the property is a 1961 property, we have to look at what is this property going to rent for. So we've taken the CMHC average rents for the Lord Roberts neighborhood, and we've applied those. Typically, triplexes rent for less than your average market rent in a neighborhood, given that they tend to be smaller suites, and these properties don't offer the same amenities that a larger apartment block offers as well. So I do feel that the CMHC rent is reflective for what this property could achieve in terms of rent. So moving on to page 11, I've just provided support for that applied rental rate, showing the CMHC data. Important to note as well that I have capitalized the net income with a cap rate of 4.75%. On page 12, we do have the support for that cap rate, and it is at the low range for capitalization rates in the city of Winnipeg as of the reference date. And then if we move on to page 13, again, I've included the valuation summary. With ultimately, we are quite close with the assessed value and the market value as determined by MNP. Based on the income approach, MNP is going to respectfully ask the board to revise the value to $452,000. And with that, I would welcome any questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Goche, any questions?
Yeah, I have a few. Mr. Horsberg, were you aware that all of your comparables are built prior to 1912 and are not purpose-built duplexes, like they're multifamily conversions? So these are older dwellings that are most likely stone foundation and lower ceiling in the basement, plaster, knob and tube.
I have to object to that question. That's speculation.
Yeah, so were you aware that these were built prior to 1912?
I was aware, yes.
The other question I have is you're using CMHC rents in your income approach. Why not use the actuals?
I wasn't able to hear from the client in time for the submission of disclosures. But my understanding of the neighborhood, and I live, well, actually we both live in Riverview, just close by. I would say these rents are high for a triplex. I would imagine they would probably rent more between $900 to $1,100 a month.
And Bill, I guess my last question, were you aware that the cap rates, so my understanding is you use the cap rates from the city of Winnipeg, so multifamily document, is that correct?
I've based my cap rate on both the city of Winnipeg's assessment document as well as third-party reports.
Well, were you aware that the city of Winnipeg's cap rate document is actually what we use for low rise, like multifamily apartment blocks, and not, that wasn't, those cap rates are not extracted from duplexes and triplexes. Were you aware of that?
I've applied the cap rate as when we're looking at valuing any sort of residential income stream. Our best way to extrapolate a capitalization rate is to look at these third-party reports, whether they've been derived from multifamily sales. It gives you the best idea as to what the market feels is an appropriate cap rate for a residential income stream, such as the subject property.
Then my last question is, you're dismissing the comparable sales approach, and then your comparables for that are in a completely different neighborhood. Is there a reason why you would have ignored two sales that are on the same street? One of them being the exact same build and one being like next door and the same construction, same era. Like, why go into a different neighborhood?
Well, we don't have any triplex sales. We have one triplex sale in Lord Roberts, 462 Brandon, $415,000 sale. Otherwise, we're looking at duplexes in Lord Roberts, so that's why I haven't included them.
Would you agree that duplexes generally sell for less than triplexes?
No, I wouldn't agree with that.
All right, that's all my questions. Thank you.
And Mr. Seelan, questions?
You mentioned the suites in this triplex. Do you know the size of the suites, like the square footage for these suites?
My understanding, and this is just off the top of my head, that the second floor suite is the largest, so it would be closer to 1,000 square feet, and then the other two suites would be just shy of 1,000 square feet, so more between 800 and 900 square feet. Sorry.
Have you actually inspected this property?
I have not.
You haven't. You mentioned you used the CMHC rents. That's what you used here as far as your report, and that's how you came up to $1,280.
That's correct. I felt the CMHC rent would reflect the way the market would look at the property. Some investors might look at the least fee interest and what the units are actually renting for. But most people would look at it and say, what's the potential rent? What can I raise these rents to? So ultimately, I feel that the CMHC rents, while they're likely higher than what's actually being achieved, it's the best representation of the market.
That's all my questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Carlin, any questions to the applicant?
Yeah, I was just looking at the comparable sales. The one that is in the area we're discussing does seem to be a significantly smaller property though, right? At the 1478 square feet.
Correct. Another reason why I opted not to go with the direct comparison approach.
Okay. Thank you very much. No questions for me.
Thank you.
And I have no questions at all, Mr. Horsberg. Does either party have a wish for summation?
I will.
All right, go ahead.
I just want to point out that the property sold in 2019 for $460. And I have very good comps that are a stone throw away, that are similar quality, similar era construction. I feel like it's a better approach to value in this particular case than using global rents and global cap rates.
Objection. I'm sorry, objection. There's no global, nothing global. This is all
Well,
local.
the CMHC rent in the area is global, in my opinion. And not using actuals, but I just urge this board to map the comparables and decide, I guess, which approach to value is more appropriate here. Thank you.
Mr. Horsberg.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a brief summation. Ultimately, as per the Municipal Assessment Act, the onus is on the assessment department to prove that their value is right. In this case, the city is basing their valuation on the sale of duplexes. So ultimately, it's up to the board to make the decision. M&P has valued this property looking at comparable sales and then valuing it based on the income approach, which reflects how the market is going to look at the property. With regard to the 2019 sale, it was a private sale, so I wouldn't consider that to be a market sale either. If it had been on the market for a number of weeks or months, had some exposure time, and then sold for that price, we could say, yes, that's the market value. It was a private sale. I haven't spoke to my client as to whether or not he knew the party, where the party's related. I've no idea, but I wouldn't place too much weight on it being a private sale and not a market sale. So with that, I thank the board for their consideration and thank you for your time today.
Mr. Horsberg, thank you very much for your brief and your time this morning.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Mr. Assessor, as well.
Thanks, Carson.
Okay, have a great day, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
We have no applicant nor brief for item number 2. So we are going to move that to the end of our docket. And we will move on to item number 3, which is 347 Berry Street. And I believe we have an applicant.
Correct, yes, just admitted just now into the meeting. Yeah. Words. Okay, morning, Mr. Adialzo. Can you hear and see us okay? Oh, here we go.
Yeah, hi, good morning. Can you hear me?
Morning, yes, we can.
All right, awesome. Hi, morning.
Hello, I'll just affirm you for a moment, so. Mr. Applicant, please state your full name.
Yeah, sure. My name is Adewumi Adeago.
Thank you. Do you affirm that the evidence you're about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you. Good morning. And I'm sorry, I did not quite catch your last name, sir. It's Mr.
Adiagbo.
Adiego.
Or just Adi. Adi is fine.
Thank you. Mr. Goche, whenever you are ready.
Okay, so I just wanted to clarify, we have two files on this property. We have, we issued a supplementary notice, so we have a 2024 appeal and a 2025 appeal. So we'll start with the 2024, but please note that the market valuation date is April 1st, 2021. So we're used to hearing the 2023 stuff, so you gotta rewind a bit on this first one. So I'll start with the 2024. So the subject property is roll number 0702203000. It's commonly referred to as 347 Berry Street. It's located in the neighborhood of King Edwards. It's a bi-level with a secondary suite. It's built in 2023. We have the living space above grade at 1,070 square feet. We have a full basement, obviously with basement finish. 3 full baths, no half baths, no extra shower. We do have central air conditioning on file, no fireplaces, no attached garages, no detached garages. I do have 5 total bedrooms. No sunrooms. It's located on a plot of land that's 4,533 square feet on a bus route, light traffic, and a school nearby. Our 2025 assessed value, 2024 assessed value is pegged at 411,000. Today I'm presenting 3 comparable sales. They're all located in the neighborhood of King Edwards. They're all bi-levels. Note that comparable 1 does not have the secondary suite, but does have a finished basement. So there are still some similarities, and comparables 2 and 3 do have the secondary units. Year built, so all of my comparables are much older than the subject. So 26, the year builds range between 2016 and 2020. We have living spaces fairly consistent. I've got 990 square feet at the low end for comparable 3. And I have 1,178 square feet for comparable number 2. Since they're bi-levels, they obviously have all have full basements, all have basement finishing. Full baths range between 2 and 3, half baths range between 0 and 1. We do have central air conditioning present in comparables 2 and 3. No fireplaces, no attached garages. I do note that comparables 1 and 2 have a multiple detached garage. Comparable 3 does not. Total rentable bedrooms fairly consistent. I have 4 at the low end for comps 3, and comparable 1 and 2 have 5. No sunrooms. The land, on the other hand, is not consistent. We do have smaller lots for comparables 1 and 3. So I have the low end 2,713, and then comparable 2 does have a similar size lot to the subject at 4,317 square feet. As far as influences, comparables 2 and 3 do have medium traffic, being located on Ferry Street. The comparables sold in 2020 and 2021. The actual sale prices range between 374,000 and 405,000. That translates to a sale price per square foot that ranges between 333 at the low end and 409 a square foot at the high end. Once we time adjust these sales to bring them to our April 1st, 2021 market valuation date, our time adjusted sale prices range between 374,000 at the low end and 416,000 at the high end. That translates to a price per square foot that is time adjusted, ranging between 353 a square foot all the way to $409 a square foot. After reviewing the comparables, I feel like our value is a touch high. So my recommendation is to reduce the value to 400,000. As supported by my comparable sales. Are there any questions?
Oh, Mr. Dagbo, do you have any questions to the assessor?
Not for now. Yeah, no,
And he has given you a recommendation of 400,000. Are you willing to accept the recommendation?
and no.
No, all right, thank you. Mr. Seelan, do you have any questions to the assessor?
Yes, have you inspected this unit?
I have not, no.
You haven't. So the secondary unit is a rental unit built within the property, is that correct?
That's correct. So on a bi-level, they're typically the secondary units in the basement.
Awesome. So you noted that there's a bus route, light traffic, school, there's a school. Based on your three comparisons, what would you say would be the closest comparison to this property? I see there's quite a few differences here, but if I had to pick one of them, although you give me three, if I had to pick one of them, what would you say would be the closest property to the subject property?
Well, for me, in this particular case, it would be comparable number 2. Reason being is the lot size is similar. So the ones on the smaller lot, like there's a substantial adjustment warranted for a lot that's 25-foot frontage versus 40 something feet frontage, right? So that's one big, and it's built in 2020, so it is the newest and most similar in age to the subject property. I mean, note it does have a garage. So yeah, to me, that's probably the best comparable. I wish I had better and cleaner comps, but it's a pretty unique property, so it's tough to find anything. But yeah, I would say comparable to be the most similar.
Awesome, thank you. That's all my questions, Madam Chair. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Mr. Carlin, any questions?
No, the question I had has been answered. Thank you.
You? So this property has no garage, correct?
Correct.
What would you generally value a garage at?
Well, my answer to that is it depends how new the garage is, but given the year built of these subject properties, I would say these garages are typically very new. We do get infills where they keep the old garage, so I actually can't be 100% certain, but if let's assume they're newer garages, I would generally adjust about 20 to 25,000 for a newer, nice double garage.
Okay, I think you just answered my second question. This is an infill, correct?
Correct.
All right, and sorry, you have this, you have this listed as having a secondary unit. So you know for a fact that there is a rentable property, like a rentable piece on this?
Yeah, so this was recently built, so the secondary unit program basically allows, without too much red tape, anyone to build a suitable rental suite in the basement, provided there's egress windows, a separate heating system, its own kitchen, its own exits, things like that. So it's kind of a mortgage helper suite. There are some limitations like these suites. Sometimes I get asked the difference between a duplex and a secondary unit. There are limitations in size to the unit. So if I remember, it's somewhere hovering around 700 square feet, like can't go much bigger than that for a secondary unit. There's some sort of size limitation, so but it shouldn't impact a house of this size too much. You would have your utility room. And yeah, you have to have your own separate heating system, so that's another criteria. And then fire coding is a little bit different, so you would have the type X drywall or the fire coding to prevent fire spread between the suites. So there's added costs. So typically, if I'm looking at a similar house that's a single family home that has a finished basement, you're kind of adjusting for a kitchenette or a kitchen, and then all that fire code and heating stuff. So.
Okay, thank you. It's not aware of that terminology. Mr. Dagbo, if you would like to give us your brief, and or if you have any questions to the assessor, please still
Yeah.
have time to ask.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you very much. And I also appreciate the assessor for, you know, considering the reduction in the value based on the comparable sales. I just did from what I submitted, what I sent, my evidence, I just did like quick sales of similar building type within the same neighborhood. I restricted my comparison within the same neighborhood in the same market region, which is King Edward neighborhood. And as you can see that the sales price, all of this property, they're all bi-level except one, which is kind of one story. I mean, these are properties that were sold like close to 2021. I used the City of Winnipeg sales book markets data. And as you can see that the sales price, all of it, is quite below, 400 that the assessor revised the revised assessor's amount. So all of these are, 356, 331, in that range. And if I also look at what the assessor compared with, you could see that this comparison 1 and 2 has multiple detached garages, right? So my property is no garage, it's just bi-level, no fence, no. If you've been there, it's no fence, it's gravelled, it's not not nothing, just like a basic bi-level. And this neighborhood is old neighborhood because it's not like a new neighborhood that pretty much old neighborhood. So there's no way this property can be sold for 400,000 in 2021. Just one level, right? So so again, to support that is just using the available data that I got from the City of Winnipeg in the sales book. So none of it is close to that. The highest end that I see is about 374,000, which is on Parkview, which is part of what the assessor even compared with, from his own evidence. So if you're looking at sales, comparable sales, none of it is close to 400,000. And I stand to request if the assessor could do more extensive comparison. You agree with me that none of the value is close to 400,000. And again, I appreciate the fact that you're willing to reduce it from 411 to 400, but I still feel that 400 is still high for that property in 2021.
Thank you. Questions?
Yeah, I have a few questions. I just, I'm not sure if you were aware, but I guess my question is, were you aware that almost all of your comparables are on lots that are almost half the size of a subject property? And knowing that, do you think that may have an impact on the value?
Again, for the Parkview, not all is half. The Parkview that you selected your comparison one, I mean, the living area is close to my property's living area square feet, so it's not half. Right. So I mean, you have more resources to do extensive analysis.
Fair enough.
Yeah, you have more resources. So I restricted mine to what is obtainable in City of Winnipeg, right, which is based on strictly on sales. 2025 has more information, which is in terms of square feet and all that stuff, year views and all of that. But if you check the City of Winnipeg sales book for 2021, this is what I got. So to answer your question, I'm not going to accept that it's close to half. If you look at the part view that you even selected as well.
Okay. My second question is, like I ran all of the comparables here, and I know sometimes on our website it may not be that easy to decipher what's what. But were you aware that only one of your comparables actually has a secondary unit and the rest are single family homes?
Again, I mean, that information wasn't provided. And again, if I look at what you know, in 2021, it wasn't, but in 2020, in my 2025 analysis, City of Winnipeg gave more extensive breakdown as to which is, you know, secondary and all that stuff. So, but for 2021, what City of Winnipeg had in their website is restricted and is limited. So that's why I didn't have that information here. But I mean, looking at your own park view, the 369 park view that you kind of did compared to mine, if you look at that, if you leave others, that one is, I mean, from what you did, you see that we have secondary unit and single dwelling. So I don't have that information, and City of Winnipeg does not have that on their website, but 2025 has that. So maybe when we get to 2025.
And then I guess I had another question. So like you're talking, you keep bringing up 369 Parkview. I'm guessing you think it's a good comparable. Being built in 2016, so we're looking at 7 years of wear and tear compared to the 2023 constructed subject. Do you think that would warrant some sort of difference or adjustment in the marketplace to have one property that's had 7 years of wear and tear and one that's brand new?
Yeah, our base year is 2021, right? So we're looking at what the property reference date is 2021.
So some of your comparables are built in 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019. So I'm asking like, if you think that it would be fair to adjust for the age of the dwelling, like some of these are 7 years old. And that's like 7 years older than the subject. So the wear and tear that happens, like some of these are rental units, right? So after 7 years, do you think if I was a buyer and I was walking in to the subject property and one next door that was built in 2016 that's had 7 years of wear and tear, do you think I would pay the same for both those properties, or would I maybe adjust my sale price to reflect that one is new and one has a bit of wear and tear?
It's case by case. It all depends, right? So property appreciate. So it all depends on maintenance component of that property. So so we can't just say that maybe wear and tear is the amount it will impact. So it all depends on that property. But I mean, this information is what is available that is closest to what we have on City of Winnipeg websites, right? Sales data. Right. So if you have a property that was actually built in 2021, if that information is available, perhaps maybe it will help in our comparison, but I'm not sure we have any of such, but we have to use what is approximate, what is close to what we have, right? So, and if you can see from your own comparison, the ones you provided, we have 2020, 2016, 2017, right? You don't have anyone that was built in 2021. Okay, so
I guess my last question is, most of your comparables here are in the 900 square foot range. Seeing as like the cost of construction is about 250 a square foot, 100 square feet difference, it can matter. Like, do you think it's also fair to maybe adjust, like some of these properties would need an adjustment for square footage?
I mean, I still circle down to what the property. I mean, if you're looking at the sales, right? So we've seen where a lower square feet was sold higher than, you know, a bigger square feet. So it all depends. But we're looking at the average sales that was done in the same neighborhood at that period, right? So I mean, again, going back to the information that the city has on the website, so it's subjective, right? So you can't say that because the square feet is more, this is less, therefore it will sell higher. We have panic sales. We have again, 2021 was COVID period, where a lot of people sold like way beyond the market sales, right? Because of the low interest rate and all that. So a lot of factors comes to play when it comes to sales of property, but the average is what will help to tell us what is more reasonable. And that's why if you look at what I provided, the average sales for that, in 2021, nothing of such is close to 400,000.
Okay, and I just have one last question. If you drove down the neighborhood in King Edward on Ferry Street, Berry Street, would your house strike people or buyer as an average house in that neighborhood?
Sorry, I didn't catch that.
So you keep bringing up average.
Yeah.
I'm just asking if I was to drive by in that neighborhood, does the subject property at 347 Berry stand out as an average house in that neighborhood? Or does it stand out as a newer infill house?
And that's what I'm saying, that there's no way, if you drive down the neighborhood of Ferry Berry, it's old neighborhood. So there's no way such property will go for 400,000 in 2021. And that's my point. There's absolutely no way that property will go for 2020 for 400,000 in that year. It's old neighborhood. It's not new. It's pretty old homes. So even some of the things that influences sales is neighborhood, right? So if a particular property is new and the other houses nearby are kind of pretty old, it's going to impact the sales for sure. Compared to a newer neighborhood where all properties are fairly new and all of that. So again, I'm still of the view that property can be sold for 400,000 in 2021.
Thank you, that's all, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Carlin, any questions to the applicant?
No, I no questions at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Seeland?
Yes, so you have a list of comparable properties that you have listed here. I believe that's on your January 1st, 2019 to April 1st, 2021 sales book.
Yes, please.
Okay, what did you have as the best comparable to your subject property?
I would say, I mean, if you look at the low end, high end, low end is about 315, high end is 374. So I would say the last one on Roseberry, 358, and that seems to be the average.
Last one on Roseberry, which is 405 Roseberry.
Yes, please.
Okay. Just bear with me here. Now, does this unit have a secondary unit in it?
Yes, secondary at the basements.
And it has a secondary unit in it.
Secondary unit.
Yeah, okay. Gotcha.
I can clarify, it does not.
Thank
The city records.
thank you. I appreciate that. Okay. Now, this is the best comparable. What is the value you're looking to seek on this assessment for 347 Berry Street?
Yeah, I mean, for 2024 assessments and something around 350, 360 will be more reasonable.
Can you just repeat that one more time? I apologize.
Value around 350, 360 in that range will be more reasonable.
350 to 360?
Between 350 and 360 will be more reasonable.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Madam Chair, just have a redirect for the assessor if I could.
Yes, go ahead.
Mr. Assessor, could you just tell me which property? I think you mentioned one property on the applicant's evidence has a secondary unit in it. Can you just tell me which one that is?
Yes, the only comparable provided with it as a secondary unit is located at 422 Ferry Road.
422 Ferry Road.
Correct.
Thank you. Much appreciated. Thank you, Madam Chair. That's all my questions.
Thank you. Sir, you mentioned you didn't have any fence around your property. Do you have landscaping?
In the front, yes. Not at the back.
Right. Okay. And is your space, your secondary space, is it currently rented?
Yes, please.
Okay. How much are you getting per month on that?
1,500.
Okay, thank you. And that's located in the basement in the lower level, correct? Right, thank you. And I'm going to redirect to you, Mr. Goche. I'm just wondering about 422 Ferry Road.
Mhm.
What is the lot size on that? It's not on the applicant's evidence.
It's 2,456 square feet, so much smaller. Typically, those are 25-foot frontage. And I have medium traffic. Very.
Right, all right, thank you. So I'm gonna, if anybody wants a summation, we'll do it at the end. So we will move on then to item number 4, which again is 347 Berry with a 2025 assessment. And Mr. Goche, whenever you are ready.
Once again, the subject property is roll number 0702-2030-000, commonly referred to as 347 Berry Street. A brief reminder that we're reviewing the 2025 value this time, so the reference date is April 1st, 2023, so 2 years after the last one we did. Once again, bi-level secondary unit built in 2023, 1,070 square feet, full basement with basement finish, 3 baths, no half baths, no extra showers. Central air conditioning is present. We have 5 total rentable bedrooms located on the same plot of land, so 4,333 square feet with bus route, light traffic, and a school nearby. For the 2025 assessed value, we have it pegged at 437,000. Today I'm presenting 3 comparable sales. They're all located in the neighborhood of King Edward. They're all bi-levels or 1-story, so bungalows or bi-levels, single family homes and secondary units. So I have 2 secondary units and 1 single family home built between 2016 and 2022. So these are all newer infills as well. Square footage ranges between 1027 square feet at the low end and 1178 at the high end. All have full basement with basement finish with 3 full baths across the board. Comparable 3 does have an extra half bath. Central AC is present in comparables 1 and 3. I do have a fireplace located in comparable 1. No attached garages. Note that comparable 3 does have a multiple detached garage. Total rentable bedrooms is either 4 or 5. We have no sunrooms present. Land is consistent with the subject for comps 1 and 3. Note that comparable 2 is located on a much smaller lot at 2,684 square feet. So they all have some sort of traffic or school or bus route influence, so that's good. Similar to the subject. Sales took place between August of 2020 all the way to July 2022. The sale prices range between 393,000 at the low end and 429,000 at the high end. So the sale price per square foot, all encompassing, ranges between 333 a square foot at the low end and 417 a square foot at the high end. Once we time adjust these to bring it to our April 1st, 2023 market valuation date, time adjusted sale prices range between 392,000 at the low end and 433,000 at the high end. That translates to an all-encompassing price per square foot, time adjusted, that ranges between 355 a square foot to 382 a square foot. So once again, my recommendation is to reduce the value slightly to 415,000 after review of the comparable sales. Are there any questions at all?
Yeah, thank you. Not for now.
Questions, thank you. And Mr. Carlin.
Just looking at your comparables, if you had to pick one, What do you think would be the best to the current property?
Well, I would definitely pick one that's a secondary unit, because I feel like that's relevant. I would say comparable number two. More similar in size. It is built in 2022.
Okay.
The difference here that I would be careful with is the land size. So the land is substantially smaller, so this could be a $30,000 adjustment between a 40-foot frontage lot and a 25-foot frontage lot. So we're looking at a substantial adjustment on the land, but other than the land, it's very close. It's close in year built, it's close in size, it has the secondary unit, so it does not have a garage, so I would say that one is, I would rely the most on.
Okay, yeah, okay, I kind of thought you'd pick, I was looking at 3 as probably a stronger comparison. The big difference would, they're close in age, but the garage is the big difference, right? Because the lot sizes are similar.
Yeah, and once again, like you're looking at 20 to 25,000 adjustment for a newer garage. As long as that is newer, I'd have to double check. As I said, once in a while, we do get tear downs where they'll keep an old garage, so be careful with that. But if it is a new garage, it does have similar land size. But it is coming back, though it is substantially, when you're dealing with these smaller houses, 100 square feet is a lot. It can give you an extra bedroom, it can give you a very functional formal dining room, so it gives you a full extra room. And the value of that extra 100 square feet when you're dealing in that low, like 900 to 1200 square foot range is tremendous. So it could be $250 a square foot adjustment on newer construction for that extra 100 square feet. And do the math and that adds up. So for that reason, I like comparable number 2. Needs a lot less adjusting, and land is easy to adjust because these infill lots sell, and I know my values when it comes to the land. So to me, that's easier to work with than all the other adjustments required in comparable 3.
Okay, great. Well, thank you very much. No other questions.
Thank you. Mr. Seelan?
So based on your recommended value of 400 to 15,000, what would be the square footage for the assessment? What would be the value of the square footage based on that reduction?
I would have, I would have to calculate that, but you just have to take the total and divide it by, I'm not a fan of that methodology. I'm not gonna bore you guys with why I don't like it, but because what happens is when you throw an entire property into a blender and you say so much per square foot, you're ignoring land, you're ignoring a lot of differences, and you're blending that. So in all the appraisal courses I've ever taken, I've never ever taken an all-encompassing price per square foot. I know we discuss it here, but I don't value that way, and I don't. I keep my land separate, and then what I do is, if necessary, especially on more complicated ones, I'll go through and adjust the attributes. So I'm adjusting for a garage, I'm adjusting for so many square feet of basement finish. And to be fair, our model operates the same way. So the City of Winnipeg's model is very easy to understand if you break it down. It starts with what's the land value. That's the base layer of your cake. And then it says, for new construction, how much per square foot of living space on the main floor, and it adds a value. How much for square foot of deck, it adds a value. How much for this feature, it adds a value, and it's building a cake. So it doesn't take everything, throw it in a blender and give a price per square foot, because in my opinion, that's a colossal mistake. And I would not value properties using that methodology for residential detached homes. So I present it because I'm told we have to have it on our briefs, but I caution using that approach. It has a lot of pitfalls.
Fully understood. Thanks so much. Appreciate the explanation. That's all my questions, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Just one question, Mr. Gauthier, this is long-term.
The value here, I believe so. I can check our notes to make sure. Sometimes we review properties. There's a certain stage before we send out and the notices where we'll review properties. So basically what we do is we'll say, okay, well, this neighborhood on average is up or down so many percent. If we see one that's way out of left field, our staff will actually review those and say, well, why did this happen? And sometimes I'll review it and say, well, they added an addition, they renovated the house, so that's why it's gone up 30%. So that makes sense, and the value is supported, so we'll do a manual review. If it's way out of line, so I'm just gonna
Okay.
see if we,
So my question then is on your number of 437, that was model driven.
might take him a little while to answer that. I believe so, but I can't, without reading all of the notes here, I can't say for sure, because we did have some interactions with the homeowner. I'm just trying to see if we drop this or not. And I'm doing a really quick scan of our notes here. From what I can tell, this is a model driven value.
The 437,
Correct.
okay, and then you compare it with your comparables, then you reduced it to the 415, correct?
No, I haven't reduced anything to 415, so our model and our assessed value currently is at 437. So when a property falls under appeal, we do a manual review. And based on these three comparables that I found, I'm recommending that we drop the value to 415. Because just like on the last one, I feel like our model is a touch high. I'm recommending a drop, so it's not our model, 415 is not our model value, that's kind of my personal opinion. That we're a smidge high, and that's where I think. If I was an educated buyer in the marketplace, looking at the information I have here, that's on that date, on April 1st, 2023, that's what I feel. Just my opinion.
Thank you. And Mr. Adegbo, I didn't ask you, were you going to consider the assessor's recommendation at 415,000?
No, please.
No, thank you. I just needed to confirm that. I forgot to ask you. Thank you. Okay, that's all my questions. And Mr. Adegbo, if you'd like to proceed with your
Yeah, thank
thank
yeah.
you.
All right, thank you. And also I want to thank the assessor for considering to reduce the value from 437 to 415. I still feel that's kind of high. And so if you look at my comparison, although it's a lot, but we're going to restrict it to, so this one has, City of Winnipeg now has more information compared to 2021. So we have a year built in this, in the sales data. We also have the living, the square feet and all that. So, and also the building type, I'm sorry, the property use code compared to the previous one that we saw. So I will just restrict us to the ones that I have, residential secondary units, and the ones that are closely built, to like 2023. The one that I could see, is the one on, again, Rootland, that is the second to the last. It's residential secondary unit. This is 2-story. The property was built in 2022, which is close to 2023, a year before, sold in 2022. And the time sales adjustment, so the time sales adjustment was 4.7 on that one. This is a 2-story. This is a 2-story property compared to my property that is a bi-level. Okay, so that even shows that this is like way higher. And I also want us to look at the one that is Marjorie, that's 443 Marjorie Street. That's also a residential secondary unit. It's also a 2-story, something similar. You see, built in 2022, sold in 2022. Also, the time sales adjustment was 4 weeks, something similar to that. Again, this is a 2-story, right? Then let's now look at the 1-story, which is kind of similar to bi-level in a way. Roseberry, residential secondary unit, 1-story, built in 2021, sold in 2021. The time sales adjustment was 379. So again, if we, just like I said in my previous presentation, if you look at all these comparables, sales, residentials, the story, the building type, the year built, which is very similar to 2023. None of this is, close to 415, right? So, and again, the ones that are here from the city of Winnipeg sales data, these are 2 stories, which is a all robust, like a bigger building structure than my buy level. So if we discount it further, you agree with me that even 400 is even high in that year. If you look at this property that was sold, right? So the ones that are buy level for that year are really detached single dwelling that I got, which I got 3 on Colgates, 382, 432, 453. Those are buy level. You see, if you look at the sales, time sales adjustment is way less than 350,000. Right. So yeah, I appreciate that the assessor is considering reduction, but I still feel that 415 is still on the high side. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Roche, questions?
Yeah, I'll try to be brief. So just, were you aware that you're comparable at 303 Ferry, 439 Ferry, 255 Rutland, and 236 Roseberry are on more or less 25-foot frontage lots, so very narrow lots. And knowing that, do you think that may have had an impact on that sale price? Had they been on 45 or 40-ish foot frontages, do you think that maybe they would have fetched a higher sale price?
Not really, because if you look at the living square feet area, right, it's close to my property, right? So the 437 Ferry, the 439 Ferry, the living square feet area is 1027, which is still even higher than my living square feet area, right? So yeah, if you see that the time adjustment sales price for these two, still less than 400,000, right? So
and then I guess your comparable at 432 Collegiate Street is 809 square feet. And the subject property is 1,070 square feet. Seeing as the cost of construction, you feel like there should be a substantial adjustment for the size of the dwelling?
I mean, if 967, the 453 Collegates is pretty much close. 967 is close to 1,000 square feet, which is my property, right? And that's about 301,000. So I mean, if you look at it, either way, and that's why I brought the ones that are bi-level, the ones that are 2 stories, detached, residential. If you look at all of these, pick one from each, none of it is even close to 415,000. I mean, if you look at the 2 stories that is even on the high end, that is way higher than my property with a bigger square feet, it's not close to 415.
That's all my questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Seelan, any questions?
What was the frontage, footed in feet, for your property? What is the frontage?
I don't have that information handy. I'll have to check.
Okay, no problems, there's no issues there. What, value were you looking for on this specific assessment? What value are you looking for your property?
Yeah, 370,000, 380 will be more reasonable.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate your information. That's all, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And Mr. Carlin, any questions?
No, thank you for your presentation, but I have no questions on it.
Thank you. I also have no questions. And does either party have a wish for a summation?
I'm good. I think it was pretty clear.
All right, thank you. Mr. Adego, any wish for a summation on your property?
Oh, no, I'm good.
All right, thank you. And I'd like to thank you for your time and your briefs this morning and appearing before us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, bye everyone.
Thank you. And at this time, we will just take a recess to decide whether we will hear item number 2. Thank you. Okay. I would like to call this hearing back to order. And the panel has deliberated and we have agreed to hear item number 2 on our docket, which is a 1-297 Lilac Street. We did not receive a brief and there is no applicant present. Mr. Goche, if you would like to proceed, please.
The subject property is roll number 120226810000, commonly referred to as 297 Lilac Street, located in the neighborhood of Earl Grey. It's a newer 2-story triplex built in 2016, so infill. The living area above grade is 1,872 square feet. Does have a full basement with basement finish, 3 full baths, no half baths, no extra showers, no central lane C on file, fireplaces, no attached garages, no detached garages. I do have 6 total rentable bedrooms, no sunrooms. It's located on a plot of land that's 3,011 square feet. I have external corner and school influence. Our 2025 assessed value, which is based on the April 1st, 2023 market valuation date, is pegged at 714,000. Today I'm presenting 3 comparables. Given that this was a very unique property, I had to kind of hunt around and look for triplexes that would be similar or command similar rents or a similarly desired neighborhood. So as you'll see on the map, it's a little bit spread out, but I do have 3 comparables. One of them is in St. Boniface, the other one is in North River Heights, and the other one, the third comparable is in the neighborhood of McMillan. They're all 2-story duplexes, triplexes, and the first comparable has a secondary unit suite. The first 2 were built in or newer infill, so 2020 and 2022 construction, while the third comparable on McMillan is an older but renovated duplex. Square footage is all 3 of them are fairly close to the subject, so we're looking at around 1,900-ish square feet. They all have full basement with basement finish. The third comparable does not have basement finish. Full baths range between 1 and 3, half baths range between 0 and 2. Extra showers range between 0 and 2. Central air is present in all of them. No fireplaces, no attached garages. Comparable 1 has a multiple detached garage. Total rentable bedrooms varies quite a bit here. I have between 5 and 9 rentable bedrooms. Sunrooms are not present in any of the comparables. Land varies between 3,002 square feet at the low end and 4,825 square feet at the high end. The sales took place in 2021, 2022, and 2023. Sales prices range between $780 at the low end and $860 at the high end. That translates to an all-encompassing price per square foot that ranges between $408 and $446 a square foot. Time adjusted sale prices range between $781,000 at the low end and $814,000 at the high end. Time adjusted sale price per square foot ranges between $408 a square foot at the low end and $422 a square foot at the high end. Note that the property did sell in February of 2020 for $710,000. So very close to our assessed value for 2025. So my recommendation is to maintain the assessed value of $714,000 as supported by the comparable sales and also supported by the sale of the subject property.
Thank you. Mr. Sealer, any questions?
No questions, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Mr. Carlo,
No questions, thank you.
and I also have no questions. We have heard all the items on this morning's docket, and this hearing is adjourned. Mr. Goche, thank you for your presence and your briefs.